The Ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead. A Journey into the Underworld. The Book of the Dead is one of the most fascinating and mysterious works of ancient Egypt. It was not a book, but a collection of sacred texts, spells and prayers, used to help the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. Origins and development. The Book of the Dead has evolved over the centuries based on older texts, pyramid texts, Old Kingdom circa 2350 to 2100 BC, carvings on the walls of the pyramids of the pharaohs, with formulas for resurrection and ascension to heaven. Sarcophagus texts, Middle Kingdom circa 2100 to 1600 BC. Prayers written on sarcophagi to ensure protection and guidance for the deceased. Book of the Dead, New Kingdom circa 1550 to 50 BCE. Texts written on papyrus with detailed illustrations, vignettes to represent the stages of the journey to the afterlife. Copies of the Book of the Dead were personalized with the name of the deceased and buried with him. The texts varied according to the beliefs and economic possibilities of the deceased. Structure and contents. The Book of the Dead contained about 200 spells, divided into several sections. The journey through the Duat. The deceased had to pass through the Duat, the realm of the underworld ruled by Osiris. Here there were dangers such as demons, snakes, and lakes of fire. Some spells protected the deceased or gave them magical powers to overcome obstacles. The Weighing of the Heart, spell 125. The most critical moment of the journey was the judgment of Osiris. The deceased's heart was placed on a scale and weighed against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was light and pure, the deceased was admitted to the fields of Yaru, an Egyptian-like paradise with abundant harvests and eternal life. If the heart was too heavy due to guilt, it was devoured by Amit, the half-crocodile, half-lion, half-hippopotamus monster, causing the deceased's total annihilation. The negative confession, part of spell 125, was a list of sins the deceased declared they had not committed. I have not killed. I have not stolen. I have not spoken falsehoods. I have not blasphemed the gods. Protection and transformation. Many spells were used to transform the deceased into sacred creatures to grant them protection. Spell 76, to transform into a golden falcon and fly through the sky. Spell 86, to become a swallow and go unnoticed. Spell 125, to ensure that the heart would not betray the deceased to the gods. 4. Life in the fields of Yaru. If the judgment was passed, the deceased could live forever in the fields of Yaru, a paradise where they would have servants, abundant food, and the ability to sail the sky with the god Ra. Iconography and representations. Copies of the Book of the Dead were often illustrated with detailed scenes of the journey to the afterlife. Among the most famous images, the Weighing of the Heart, with Anubis guiding the deceased and Thoth recording the verdict. Amit, the devourer of souls, crouching beside the scales. Osiris enthroned, surrounded by gods and spirits. The images were not only decorative, but had magical value. They helped the deceased visualize his path and remember the necessary formulas. Who could afford it? The Book of the Dead was expensive, so only the noble and wealthy could commission long, illustrated versions. However, simpler versions existed for commoners, with only a few essential spells. Legacy and modern discoveries. Many papyri of the Book of the Dead have been found in Egyptian tombs. One of the most famous is the Papyrus of Ani, 19th dynasty circa, 1250 BC, now preserved in the British Museum. Scholars have translated and analysed these texts, discovering how the Egyptians conceived of life after death, not as an end, but as a continuous spiritual journey. Conclusion. The Book of the Dead is one of the most extraordinary documents of Egyptian culture, a sacred text that united religion, magic, and hope. It was the definitive guide to obtaining eternal life and demonstrates how important it was for the ancient Egyptians to prepare for the afterlife.